Hey guys, so two things I'd like to mention before getting into this final discussion part, because that is what the end of this video is basically going to be, is one, this video was very out of date as of when it is uploaded. Obviously right now it is the end of August, but when I filmed this, it was actually mid-April. I know, crazy. So any cards that came out in Paldea Evolved, Obsidian Flames, or any future sets such as 151, that is a big one, or Paradox Rift, obviously were not included in this video because they did not exist as of filming this. The other thing is that I barely opened any Scarlet and Violet up to this point, so there's kind of inconsistencies in terms of whether I include them or not. I decided inevitably to go with it. So for certain Pokemon like Grimer and Muck, they have their Scarlet and Violet cards, well as Pokemon like Growlithe, that now that I've opened more of that, I have a Growlithe from Scarlet and Violet, is not included in the video. So that might throw up the numbers a little bit, but you could say this is my Pokemon Card Pokédex as of mid-April 2023. The other thing I'd like to mention is that this is not the replacement to my Pokemon Tier List series. However, it is kind of a lot of work. So, I'm sure as many of you know, over the past few months I've done my Pokemon Tier List series. And in that series, I ranked every Pokemon ever, and then I did the two finale videos, the top 100 worst and the top 100 best. And then in the end of the top 100 best, I said that my next, my follow-up to the series would be either Shiny Pokemon or Skylanders or something like that. And this is something different that I did not expect to be doing as when I did it. It's a long story, and I really could get into it more, and maybe if you really want to know, I'll probably put it in the description below. But essentially, this is not the replacement for my Pokemon Tier List series. So if you're really excited for either of the other Tier List videos I do, don't worry, those are still coming. Just kinda not anytime soon. Anyways, for the discussion of this video. So what you just saw was my Pokemon Card Pokédex for every Pokemon of the original 151. Plus Alolan, Galarian, Hisuian, and Paldean forms. Now there's a lot of them, and I'm sure in the future there's going to be a lot more of them. But essentially, it's all 151 plus however many forms. Basically, each of them got 3 to 5 second clips. I actually haven't filmed that part yet, in case you couldn't tell. And it kind of just breezed through it. And now we kind of like to talk about that a little bit more. So I've done numbers, I've done statistics. I've given every Pokemon in the 151 plus forms a number based on how many cards I own of them. And this is my Pokemon Card Pokédex, hence the name of the series. Yes, I will be doing all other 9 generations. I guess 8, because I will put Hisuian and Galar together, because I'm going to do it by gen instead of region. I might hold off on doing Gen 9 for a while, because we're still in Scarlet and Violet. But as for my Gen 2 through 8 videos, you will be getting those sooner rather than later. It's just a matter of when. So basically, for this series, I am taking every single Pokemon card ever, or every single Pokemon ever, and then I'm going through all my binders, all my collection, and finding every card I own of that Pokemon. Which is why, in each picture that you see, is one Pokemon. That is all the cards I own of, say, like Psyduck, or Growlithe, or something like that. That is my Pokemon Card Pokédex. So, I went through and did all the numbers for all the ones that I'm missing, all the ones I have one of, all the way up until the one Pokemon that I have 33 cards of. I know, big shocker. And I think that it would be fair if I just, quickly read through the list for you guys. Since, I did the numbers, and I think it'd be cool if some of you knew it. So, surprising absolutely nobody, we have 6 Pokemon that I have 0 cards of from the first generation. And they are all forms. So I am missing any Alolan Raichu, Alolan Sandslash, Alolan Ninetales, Alolan Golem, Galarian Rapidash, and Paldean Tauros cards. As of April 2023, these are the cards that I have 0 of. Now that they're on my list, I might go shopping on eBay for one of each card, just to say I truly do have one of every Pokemon, but for right now, at this point in time, those are the Pokemon that I have 0 cards of. Now for the ones that may or may not surprise you a little bit more are the Pokemon that I have 1 card of. These include Pidgeotto, Alolan Diglett, Alolan Persian, Hisuian Arcanine, Kadabra, unsurprisingly, Weepinbell, Alolan Geodude, Galarian Ponyta, Hisuian Voltorb, Hisuian Electrode, Alolan Executor, and Galarian Moltres. Once again, a lot of forms. These are basically all the forms of Pokemon cards that I've opened up in the more recent sets. So like Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, all those ones where I've gotten all the Galarian, Alolan, and Hisuian forms respectively. Now the weird ones in here are Pidgeotto and Weepinbell. Those are not too uncommon, but for some reason I've never pulled any of the more modern versions of those cards. Because if you look back at that, the 2 cards I do own for those are old school base set cards, which is very interesting. Kadabra is not brought back until Pokemon 151, which releases in September, so for right now it makes complete sense that there's only one Kadabra. Now we move on to the cards that I have 2 of, and for these ones there's not really a huge explanation. It looks like a lot more forms, plus a lot more of the kind of uncommon Pokemon. So coming in at a total of 2 cards, we have 23 Pokemon. We have Alolan Raticate, Nidorina, Nidoqueen, Alolan Vulpix, Venomoth, Alolan Meowth, Hisuian Growlithe, Poliwrath, Alakazam, Alolan Graveler, Regular Golem, Galarian Farfetch'd, Dodrio, Alolan Muck, Alolan Marowak, Hitmonlee, Galarian Weezing, Jolteon, Kabuto, Kabutops, Galarian Articuno, and Galarian Zapdos. Pretty interesting. I realized that I kind of said all the stuff I needed to before I read them out, so we're just going to move on to number 3. So, coming in at a total of 3 cards, we have 30 Pokemon. That is a lot. So, I think if we did some general math stuff, which I'm not going to do, this would be where the biggest percent of Gen 1 Pokemon fall into. I see that there's a few big numbers left that I'll get to when I get to them. But for the cards that I have 3 versions of, we have Ivysaur, Charmeleon, Charizard, Pidgeot, Alolan Rattata, Sandshrew, Alolan Sandshrew, Nidorino, Nidoking, Gloom, Vileplume, Alolan Dugtrio, which makes me kind of sad, Abra, Machamp, Victreebel, Galarian Slowpoke, Magneton, Dugong, Hypno, Kingler, Executor, Regular Marowak, Regular Weezing, Kangaskhan, Seaking, Galarian Mr. Mime, Vaporeon, Ammonite, Omastar, and Regular Moltres. So yeah, that seems like a bunch of just random Pokemon that I just threw out there, which makes me think that this is where most of the more forgettable, like the middle stage Pokemon, or some of just the more fully evolved Pokemon that have 2 stages, so like Marowak I see on here, Executor, kind of those more forgettable Pokemon that maybe come in the rare spot that I don't pull as much of, seem to end up in the 3. It's also interesting that we got 3 starters. We have Ivysaur, Charmeleon, and Charizard. Charizard's an interesting one because of the TCG's obsession with printing Charizard cards. So this one does kind of surprise me a little bit, but at the same time not that much, because most of the Charizard cards are usually chase cards. Now coming in at a total of 4 cards, we have 18 Pokemon, consisting of Butterfree, Pidgey, Nidoran Female, Clefable, Ninetales, Venonat, Poliwhirl, Machoke, Tentacruel, trying to catch my breath a little bit, Geodude, Graveler, Rapidash, Alolan Grimer, Muck, Cloyster, Hitmonchan, Aerodactyl, and regular Zapdos. I don't know why I got so out of breath all of a sudden. I guess I need to breathe more in between saying these names. But yeah, there's 18 of them. Not much to say about those. Those are a little more frequent than most of the ones we talked about so far, but at the same time are not super common. Now, for our next number, the one we have 5 of, there's 21, which I believe is the 3rd most common number to do. So it seems like a majority of them fall into either 3, 5, or 6. So that is a very interesting statistics number for more of those math-centered people. If you want to figure out a percentage for me, absolutely go ahead. I'll pin your comment, all that stuff, give you a shout out, whatever. But for me personally, I do suck at math, so I will not be doing that today. However, for our cards that we do have 5 of, we have Bulbasaur, Wartortle, Raticate, Ekans, Arbok, Sandslash, Golbat, Parasect, Galarian Meowth, Persian, Primeape, Bellsprout, Krabby, Rhydon, Chansey, Starmie, Jinx, Pinsir, Ditto, Flareon, and Dratini. So a bunch of more interesting cards that you may see more of, like I see a lot of starters. My first evolution is here. These are cards that you see printed more often, and 5 is a perfectly reasonable number for most of these. Anyways, for our other most common number, we have 6 with 22 Pokemon cards. So, only one more than last time, but once again, this is probably where a majority of them fall into. So for the 22 cards that have 6 cards, we have Venusaur, Beedrill, Spearow, Fearow, Nidoran Male, Wigglytuff, Dugtrio, Arcanine, Farfetch'd, Seal, Shelder, Electrode, Cubone, Seadra, Goldeen, Mr. Mime, Scyther, Tauros, Articuno, Dragonair, Dragonite, and Mew. So, I realize it sounds like I'm doing the Poké Rap, but I am literally just reading off random Pokemon names. These are in Pokédex order, by the way. I'm sure most of you got that. So 6, very common number. However, now we get into the more high counts for some of these cards, which is where the numbers get a little more interesting. So starting us off with 7, we have 14 cards, including one of my favorite Pokemon, Blastoise, to start us off. We also have Caterpie, Metapod, Rattata, Raichu, Golduck, Growlithe, Tentacool, Slowpoke, Grimer, Lickitung, Rhyhorn, I combined that with Horsey, who was next, Horsey, and then Porygon. So I just stuttered my words there a little bit, which does kind of bother me, but we're just rolling because I don't care. I'm not a professional, not in the slightest. But yeah, 7, pretty common. For the cards that have 7, 8, and 9, the numbers are very even. So next up with the ones that have 8 cards, we have 13 Pokemon, including Charmander, Jigglypuff, Mankey, Poliwag, Ponyta, Slowbro, Onix, Drowsy, Execute, Tangela, Electabuzz, Magmar. Weird that those two have the same number. And then Gyarados. So, yep, not much to say about the 8. We're kind of getting into the territory of more common Pokemon like Charmander, Jigglypuff, both pretty common. And then there's also some weirder picks in here, like Onix is a weird one, Ponyta. Some of these are just weirder Pokemon that you never notice get as many cards as they do. But they do, trust me, because I apparently have 8 of them. And I don't open, like, every set. Like, I'm severely lacking in Sun and Moon cards, and I still have a few, like, Sun and Moon Ponytas and stuff. It's weird. But now we're going to move on to 9, starting off with my actual favorite Pokemon of all time, Squirtle. However, we also have Weedle, Kakuna, Zubat, Oddish, Paras, Meowth, Machop, Magnemite, Doduo, Haunter, Gengar, Staryu, and Lapras. So, a lot of very popular Pokemon, and Paras. But most of these are Pokemon that make sense to get as many cards as they do, such as like Gengar, Squirtle, even ones like Weedle make complete sense, Lapras, another one, Magnemite also makes quite a bit of sense. A lot of these are Pokemon that are pretty popular and or seen a lot in most of the recent games, so you know, it makes sense that they get 9 cards in my collection. However, here is where we get interesting, because right here, I believe we have my top 11 Pokemon. So, starting us off with 10 Pokemon apiece, we have both Vulpix and Psyduck. Now, these two are very interesting to me because I never realized that either of these got as many cards as they do. Don't get me wrong, I do like Vulpix, and Psyduck really isn't too shabby. I quite like Psyduck, actually. But for both of them to have such a high card count compared to like literally any other first stage Pokemon or second or whatever is just really surprising to me. Also, for all these top 11, I believe they are all basic Pokemon. So that kind of gives a little more statistic stuff that we're not going to get into, as previously mentioned. So, coming in with 12 cards apiece. Yes, there are no Pokemon that have 11 cards from Gen 1. I know, a little weird, but it is true. We have actually 5 Pokemon. So, one of these guys is really, actually 2 of them are not like the other. So starting us off with 3 completely normal guys, we have Clefairy, Diglett, and Ghastly. All 3 of those make complete sense. They are very popular Pokemon and very easy to print cards of. For our last 2 is where it gets a little more surprising, because we have Coughing and Voltorb. Coughing I could understand because there's Galarian, Wheezing in Gen 8. So anytime they want to do Galarian, Wheezing in one of the new sets, they have to do a Coughing. Sure, Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but yeah, I could see why Coughing has that many cards. Now with Voltorb, I really have no idea how I got this many. I know a few of these are from like older sets that I've obtained over time from various sources, but if you look at most of the recent sets, we haven't seen a whole lot of Voltorb. So the fact that I own this many Voltorb is kind of strange to me. And I'm not complaining at all, because I think Voltorb's cool enough. Obviously we have Hisuian Voltorb, which makes this even weirder, because you think that anytime Voltorb was printed in the Sword and Shield era, especially towards the end, it would be Hisuian. But you know what? It's weird, but I'm not complaining. And now we have our official top 5. Coming in with 13 cards, we have Snorlax. Absolutely makes sense. The amount of Snorlax Ultra Rares they do, whether it's GX, V, or probably EX coming very soon. I have a lot of Snorlax Ultra Rare cards, as well as just basic, uncommon, or regular rare Snorlax cards that I've obtained from many modern sets, especially from Sun and Moon. I know there's quite a few from, as well as XY, is where they really printed Snorlax a lot. Sword and Shield, there's a few, but some of them are like hollow and it gets a little iffy. But yeah, I've seen a lot of Snorlax in recent times. And then we have the two 14 card Pokemon, which really couldn't be any more different. We have Magikarp and Mewtwo, really two opposite spectrums, but Magikarp I see everywhere. It makes sense, Magikarp and Gyarados, pretty popular Pokemon, and then Mewtwo, it's Mewtwo. Of course there's going to be a lot of Mewtwo cards. And then, surprising absolutely nobody, coming in a crisp second place with 18 cards, we have Eevee. Do I really need to say anything else? It's Eevee. Especially in modern times, Eevee's become like a second mascot to Pikachu. But even before then, Eevee had a lot of stupid cards. Because think about how many Eeveelutions there are. Every time you want to include one in the sets, then you have to pretty much add an Eevee. As well as just the sheer number of Eevee Blackstar promos they make on like 3-pack blisters and stuff. It really doesn't surprise me how many Eevee cards I own. And then coming in at a crisp 33 cards, we have Pikachu. I did not realize I had this many Pikachu cards, but in retrospect it makes sense. The amount of products Pikachu's on, Pikachu V-Boxes, I think there's like 4 of them, Pikachu GXs, Pikachu EXs, and I'm sure there's going to be more in Scarlet and Violet, especially in 151, and then just Pikachus in like every set. I have so many Pikachus, but it turns out I have 33 of them, so the more you know. I am sorry that I took so long to make this video, but I really hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it a lot, then I will try and get working on Gen 2 a little bit quicker. If nobody does this really catch on, there might be a bit of a break between Gen 1 and Gen 2. This might just turn into more of a, I don't know, when I feel like it kind of video. But if you guys like it, if it gets a lot of views, a lot of likes, a lot of comments, whatever, then yeah, please like leave a like or something. That way I know to kind of post-haste the rest of them to get them out to you faster. Because otherwise I will kind of take my sweet time working on these and instead make videos you like more, like Skylander Lock videos or Pokemon Tier List videos or stuff like that. That's actually more up your guys' alley, and then more stuff that I like to do will kind of be put on the back burner. I don't know. It's a dog-eat-dog world we live in. That's how I'm doing YouTube right now. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Remember to take care of yourselves because mental health is important. And I will see you all in my next video. And ta-ta for now.